either Archie or Lily, and it needs to happen. They need to prove that those children, Meghan and Harry, are not entitled to privacy in this matter, and their privacy is trumped by our right to know that no bastard is going to sit on the throne of this country. All Harry and Meghan need to do is prove to us that she popped those babies out. And that's all they need to do. And if they don't, it is unfair on the children. It's also unfair on the royals.
Something unusual is unfolding behind the gates of Buckingham Palace. This time, it isn't a rumor, a tabloid exaggeration, or another viral post. In this fictional account, the atmosphere is quiet, tense, and undeniably dangerous.
Looked up, her mouth set in a particular way. Things were getting serious. I said to Meg, my love, you need a push.
Did Meghan Markle use a surrogate? That's been something posited literally for well over 3 years when it comes to her firstborn son Archie and even her daughter Lilibet. And many people even wonder, are their children even real?
Did Buckingham Palace or Prince William set a trap for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, and were they gullible enough to fall into it?
This is absolutely insane that they thought they could get away with it, especially Meghan Markle and Harry. The con of the century, 2 cons of the century in the form of 2 royal children included in the line of succession.
Whole description she does of the Portland hospital, the birth, that was completely fabricated. We all know, the first interviews, we all know that she never intended to go to the Portland hospital. She had to have the baby at home.
That Meghan put on her Instagram feed earlier this week with Archie in the garden. What did you see?
But I had to take my children to Professor Ballström, who was the leading expert in the field at that time, at the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital it was, and he was going to be investigating. And of course, you know my boys, so you know they're very spirited. That she has that child in a vice-like grip. And it's, you know, if they were a husband and wife team, there are laws now about coercive control.
Whispers suggest that something unexpected is taking shape within the palace walls, small details that, when combined, create a pattern too striking to overlook.
Where are the children? Where are Harry and Meghan's kids? And do they honestly exist? Now, I know that that's kind of like a little bit conspiratorial, but you know what? I'm down the rabbit hole now since I've accepted the moon bump story. And if the moon bump story was true and she didn't actually have these pregnancies, then is it possible that she has...
In this narrative, senior royal advisors have initiated what they call an internal verification review, an inquiry that could shake the very foundation of the monarchy. At the center of the review are the birth records of Archie and Lilibet, documents tied directly to the sacred royal line of succession. Scandals can be silenced and duties reassigned, but uncertainty surrounding lineage represents a crisis of an entirely different magnitude.
They decide, okay, well, you know, we have to come out and like show the baby in some way, but we're not coming out to the street. The filthy masses are not going to have anything to do with our kid. So then they show up, and there's Meghan in her white dress with Harry.
In this fictional narrative, the stakes rise sharply, because if even one part of the unfolding story proves unverifiable, the palace has the authority to respond not with emotion or public statements, but with quiet legal actions that could, in this imagined scenario, strip Meghan and Harry's children of royal standing entirely. And yet, this is only where the story begins. What started as faint whispers, online theories, speculative commentary, murmurs from royal watchers gradually grew louder. The whispers became questions, and the questions became something the palace in this tale could no longer dismiss. At the center of it all was a single explosive possibility. Did Meghan Markle actually give birth to Archie and Lilibet, or did the public receive a carefully managed narrative created for image rather than truth? One of the earliest sparks in this fictional world was a viral video, Meghan allegedly in labor, urged on by Harry, the moment so theatrical that even loyal supporters were unsettled. Viewers analyzed every frame, her posture, the doctor's expression, the oddly polished dialogue. It looked less like a candid birth and more like a performance. Then came the photographs. In some images, Meghan appeared unmistakably pregnant. In others, taken days apart, she seemed almost unchanged. The discrepancies multiplied. Soon, online forums erupted with a new theory: the moon bump, a term used to describe a prosthetic pregnancy belly. People claimed they saw it shift, fold, even compress. Absurd at first glance, yet as more footage spread, more voices began asking, what if she never carried the children at all? This theory within the fictional plot leapt from obscure message boards to mainstream commentators, influencers, even seasoned royal correspondents. And behind closed doors, it finally drew the palace's attention. For in this imagined scenario, if Meghan had used a surrogate or worse, fabricated details around the births, it would transcend personal controversy. It would become a constitutional crisis. But the suspicions in the story didn't end there. That was when the palace, quietly and without fanfare, reviewed the earliest legal document tied to Archie's existence, his birth certificate. For most families, such a certificate is routine paperwork. For the royal family, it is a foundational legal record, verified line by line, guarded with precision, never altered without clear purpose. Yet Archie's certificate was altered. Months after his birth, Meghan's full legal name, Rachel Meghan Markle, was removed entirely. In its place appeared only her royal title, Her Royal Highness the Duchess of Sussex. No first name, no surname, just styling .in royal documentation. Such a change is extraordinary, almost unheard of. Who requested the edit? Who approved it? And why? In this fictional account, the explanations from Meghan's team and the palace fail to align, leaving behind a trail of contradictions and deepening the mystery at the heart of the story.
Meghan they would refuse to kind of show him. They finally kind of showed him off in South Africa, and it was very much, kind of a display, and she went to the polo match, and again, people wondered because it's like, she just didn't, it was a very stiff way she was holding him. It was just looked odd, and you looked at her and compared her to Kate, and you can't help the comparisons. And Kate is playing with baby Louis, and he's, kissing her, trying on sunglasses, and Meghan does not even look at Louis at all, and Louis is looking.
In this fictional account, the uncertainty deepens. Conflicting statements swirl around the altered birth certificate. Palace insiders claim Meghan's team pushed for the change, while Meghan's side insists the palace initiated it. No one agrees on the motive, and more troubling still, no official paperwork explains why the edit was made in the first place. The absence of transparency sends a quiet ripple of alarm through royal officials. Because if one foundational document had been modified without proper procedure, what else might have slipped through unnoticed? Compounding the tension is the discrepancy between Meghan's public wish for a home birth and the eventual hospital delivery, another detail that, in this story, fails to align with the original records. As investigators revisit Archie's birth timeline, more cracks emerge. The certificate change is no longer the only red flag. It's merely the first in a growing list. The deeper they delve into the events surrounding Archie's arrival, the more inconsistencies they uncover. This is no longer just a question of names, it becomes a question of truth. For generations, royal births have followed a strict, time-honored sequence. A verified delivery, an official medical statement, a formal palace bulletin, and then the iconic moment the public waits for a ceremonial photo with the newborn. The protocol is carried out with military precision to prevent doubt and ensure every royal child enters the historical record with absolute clarity. But in this fictional narrative, nothing about Archie's birth follows that structure. On the day he was born, Meghan and Harry broke from tradition in a way that left both the palace and the public stunned. No announcement was made when Meghan went into labor. For more than 8 hours, the world remained in complete darkness. No doctor stepped out, no reporters gathered, no official update reached the public. The silence was unprecedented, and it was only the beginning.
Record of the child's identity.
And then the next holiday card we see, I believe it was the famous Lilibet's born, and here's little Archie. And that little kid who's Archie doesn't look any.
In this fictional narrative, the confusion reaches a breaking point. When the palace finally issued a press release, it wasn't to confirm the birth, it was to announce that Meghan had just gone into labor, even though Archie had already been born hours earlier. The statement wasn't simply misleading. It felt like deliberate misdirection, and it left both officials and the public with a growing sense of unease. Why the secrecy? Why the inconsistencies? The confusion only intensified when Meghan and Harry finally introduced their newborn. Days after the actual birth, they posed for cameras, but not on the hospital steps as William and Kate had done, and not with royal doctors or midwives present. Instead, the moment unfolded indoors, carefully staged, Meghan in a flowing white dress, Harry smiling stiffly, and a completely motionless baby in his arms. It didn't resemble tradition. It resembled theater. Then came the hospital contradiction. Early reports pointed to one medical facility. Later statements hinted at another, and no official confirmations ever followed. Behind closed doors, staff struggled to match hospital details and medical personnel with the royal records, normally filed with absolute precision. For a family that documents every attending physician, every signature, every gram of birth weight, these gaps were unacceptable. When palace investigators reviewed Archie's full fictional timeline, they emerged with more questions than answers. No verified medical signatures, no consistent hospital record, no royal witnesses. It wasn't enough to prove wrongdoing, but it was enough to fracture the palace's trust and to suggest that something deeper was being concealed. And just when officials in this story believed the irregularities might finally end, Lilibet's birth made everything worse. Compared to Archie's confusing entry into the world, Lilibet's arrival shattered royal protocol completely. There were no British doctors involved, no royal midwives, no official bulletin from the palace. Her birth was announced entirely through Meghan and Harry's team in California, far outside the centuries-old framework governing royal births, an easel outside Buckingham Palace, an confirmation of hospital details, an formal statement from the royal household, only a polished press release accompanied by curated photographs. For Hollywood celebrities, such an approach might have seemed ordinary. But for a child tied, at least in this fictional account, to the British line of succession, it was deeply unsettling.
Deniability. They want to be able to say, hey, we never claimed that she was our daughter in that announcement. They're legally covering their backs. There's just too many unknowns. And then, of course, we have that the doctor that allegedly delivered Lily quit her practice 2 weeks after giving birth to Lily or delivering Lily. That sentence there is missing. That is a vital sentence that Meghan Markle chose not to put in an official statement because she knows she would get into a lot of legal trouble and she needed plausible deniability.
In this fictional narrative, Buckingham Palace shifts from passive observation to active concern. As investigators attempt to reconstruct the timeline of Lilibet's birth, the confusion only deepens. Photos and video clips of Meghan during her pregnancy, whether captured on Zoom calls or snapped by paparazzi, show a bump that appears to change shape, size, and even stage from week to week. In some images, she looks late term. In others, barely pregnant at all. On their own, such inconsistencies could be dismissed. But without verified medical documentation, they become troubling pieces of a larger puzzle. Yet, the most alarming detail in this story isn't the birth itself, it's what happened afterward. The christening. For the royal family, christenings are not mere ceremonies. They are constitutional events that formally connect a royal child to the Church of England and establish the first spiritual, historical, and legal record of their identity. But in Lilibet's case, that record simply did not exist. Meghan announced that Lilibet had been christened in California. However, when advisors quietly checked the Church of England's registry, they found nothing. No entry, no signature, no certification. Not even a private note from the Archbishop's office. For any royal child, even one born abroad, such an absence is a constitutional concern. Christenings within the royal family are not optional photo opportunities. They are legally witnessed, certified, and recorded. They serve as one of the monarchy's safeguards for verifying lineage. Without that documentation, a child's formal link to the crown remains incomplete. And in this fictional storyline, that was the moment everything changed. The palace could no longer postpone action. The internal review expanded, drawing in senior advisors, archivists, constitutional lawyers, and clerical liaisons, each tasked with uncovering the truth behind the mounting inconsistencies.
That Archie was denied a prince title due to institutional decisions, possibly rooted in race. Buckingham Palace's position was that Archie wasn't entitled to a title under current royal protocol.
People wouldn't, for the rest of maybe Archie and Lily's life, they may deal with questions about this surrogacy. And the only people they have to blame are their own parents.
In this fictional account, the palace's internal review takes on a life of its own. The investigator's role isn't to accuse Meghan or Harry of deception, it's to meticulously reconstruct every detail, every event, and every document tied to Archie and Lilibet. Birth certificates, hospital records, public statements, and private ceremonies all are scrutinized. A massive timeline wall is constructed and gaps emerge everywhere. Missing witnesses, unverified hospitals, contradictory statements, signatures that don't match royal formatting. Individually, these anomalies might seem minor. Together, they form a pattern the crown cannot ignore. Inside Montecito, Meghan and Harry are not celebrating. Panic sets in because this is no longer about public opinion, it's about legal classification and royal identity. Meghan's public persona, from Netflix documentaries to podcasts and lifestyle ventures, has long leaned on her status as a royal mother. The mystique of stepping back from the palace while still carrying its legacy. If the monarchy formally questions the royal standing of her children, the carefully cultivated narrative evaporates. For Harry, the stakes are even more personal. His life has revolved around lineage. He was raised to believe that his bloodline mattered, that his children would carry forward his family's legacy even from afar. Now he watches that certainty dissolve. He reportedly reaches out to senior royals, pleading, arguing, but the palace has grown distant. When the monarchy initiates a legal review, emotion is irrelevant. The file exists, and once the crown begins its final deliberations, nothing Meghan or Harry can say will stop it. With the evidence compiled and the inconsistencies exposed, the palace faces a crossroads. In this fictional scenario, there are 3 possible paths forward, and none are comforting. Option 1, a quiet title freeze. The monarchy could simply halt updates to Archie and Lilibet's titles, no public announcement, no removals, just an invisible suspension.